Cast our minds back 2 weeks to the Tuscan Grand Prix. You spent 36 of the 59 laps in the points, yet you came home 11th. Incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, I'd say probably mentally the toughest race I've ever come away from, probably in the last 5 years. Incredibly gutting for all of us, myself, the team, everybody. We deserve that. Obviously, very strange circumstances, how we lost out on that opportunity. But in all honesty, we're looking forward. That's behind us now. I think myself and the team have greater aspirations than just scoring a point here and there.
Can we just get your thoughts on what happened at the restart crash in Mugello?
I think there's really nothing wrong with the way the restarts are done. I think maybe on a track-by-track basis, in previous years, it was at the safety car line you were allowed to overtake, which first safety car line is always much further back than the control line. So at tracks like that, maybe at tracks like Baku, for example, when it's quite late, maybe that could be something to look at, to use those lines as an opportunity, as it then just minimizes that distance where you kind of have the jostling to and fro of when's the leader going to go. That's really the only thing I could think of. I don't think it's necessary to have a specific zone like in other categories where the leader has to go at a certain point or things like that.
Does the layout of the Sochi Autodrome encourage scrapes and barging and ultimately DNFs?
Definitely last year I wasn't very lucky. We qualified in the top 10, but I was taken out in the first lap of the race. I do not remember what happened the year before. I think I finished. And the year before, the turn 2, is a bit of a tricky one. Everyone comes through with very high speeds from having the start-finish line far away, which is good fun, but it's quite a tight corner and it ties up on the second part. So whenever you try to go 3 wide in there, it normally doesn't end up very well.
I just wanted to know from your perspectives, are you guys happy to wait on a decision from Haas? Are you exploring any options elsewhere? Are you looking for a speedy resolution to know what your futures will be?
Well, I do understand the point of view from Haas, and it totally makes sense. They're not in a rush. But I don't think I'm in a rush neither. There are options elsewhere as well, which can be interesting. But obviously, Formula One is Formula One. And coming from Mugello, driving those cars in Mugello, you're like, it's absolutely unique what I'm driving.
Do you find the uncertainty stressful?
It's always nicer to have, certainty and be content with what you got, and it's always better to know what's going to happen and just being able to look forward to that and focus. Right now, it's uncertain and I don't know how long that's going to take.
This is something of a landmark weekend for you, in which you can equal Rubens Barrichello's record of 322 starts. Fred Ferre from L'Equipe asks what that means to you. And do you need to stay on here next year just to stop Fernando claiming that record?
No, that's not the reason if I'm staying or not. Obviously, I think every record is going to be broken at some point in most of the sports. So, it's just a part of, that's just how it has happened.
A question for Antonio, please. How happy are you with the job you've done and the case you've made for next year? And how concerned are you about losing that seat, especially given there's a few Ferrari Academy drivers performing so well in Formula 2?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with what I did so far. So it's still no news from my side, and just need to still pushing hard and see what happens. I think the problem is still half of season, so still another 8 races. So we need to see. But of course, I'm just try to doing my best.
Why do you consider this an unlucky track for you?
I think luck is nothing to do with it. I don't know where I have said it. You know where I said it? Yeah, so I always enjoy to come here. The end result obviously could have been better many times, but that's same with any place you go many times. Some years you do better than others, and that's how it goes. But I enjoy to come here. The weather this year seems to be pretty good.
Big crash last time out in Mugello. So first of all, how are you? Were there any lasting effects from that?
No, I'm okay. Thank you for asking. My left calf was a little bit sore the next day because I put so much pressure into the brake pedal when I went off. But that was it. The cars now are so safe, and it's really thanks to the FIA and Formula One for over the years implementing all the safety regulations. That I walked away from that crash, without any injuries.
Have any teams reached out to you?
There have been obviously contact with a couple of teams and talks. I think in the next week or so I will know exactly what is a realistic option and what isn't. But obviously that's something that I will keep between the teams and myself. I don't want any. I think everyone deserves the respect. They have current drivers, they have current discussions, so it's something that I will definitely keep it for myself.
Checo, you've had a few questions today about the way your contract situation was handled and the upgrade situation that's now unfolding. Knowing that you're leaving the team at the end of the year and having been there so long, just the way things are going, is it going to be difficult to maintain as positive a relationship as you've had with the team, knowing that it's coming to an end?
I don't think so. I think everyone, we are focusing on the 8 races ahead. I think it's going to be so crucial that we deliver every single point. Is very important on the Constructor Championship. We still can have the best season in our history, if we manage to finish third. I think we're all going to be very disappointed if we don't get that third place in the Constructor Championship. Obviously, since the news came out, some people inside the team tend to hide things, which I don't think is great. I think at the moment we just have to be as transparent as possible to make sure we achieve our goals and make sure that we score as many points as we possibly can.
Danny, can we start with you? Before we move on to all things Sochi, I'd like to ask you about what training you've been doing since the last race in Mugello, because you've sparred with UFC star Conor McGregor, and I just wanted to ask, how was it? What did you learn from him?
Well, we didn't spar. We just exchanged few phrases since we happen to be in the same boxing club where I train also, and we had a nice conversation. I saw him training a little bit, but I have my training, he has obviously his, and it was incredible to watch him train. I'm a big martial arts fan.
Tell us about the boost a home crowd can give you. Is that only a racing myth?
I can't wait to see them. Regarding, it's always positive. I always found it quite positive for me to have to see Russian flags, people that support me. It's always a very nice feeling for me.
How do you reflect on those emotional roller coaster 8 days that comprised the Italian and Tuscan Grand Prix?
It's been pretty intense, I must say, between Monza and the days that followed Monza. Mugello as well, but yeah, all in all, a very good moment. A lot of emotions, obviously, during that time. I think generally on the performance side, I think it's been very, very positive. We're competitive in Spa, we're competitive in Monza, we're also competitive in Mugello. It's just a shame we were involved in the crash in the first corner, but I mean, at the end of the day, it just brings you back to reality, and that's incidents that can happen all the time.
Esteban, you were in the factory in the UK last week. Fernando Alonso was in the factory in the UK. Were you there at the same time? And if you were, how did you get on? And if you weren't, how much contact have you had with Fernando?
No, I wasn't in the same time with him, but he came the day after, I think. I think it must have been quite emotional for him to go back there. But we've been in contact, obviously, with Fernando. We, of course, got some information on what he did on the simulator as well, which is good. We've all been to the simulator. We had a good prep.
Daniel, you said Sochi is not one of your strongest tracks. Can you elaborate on this a bit, perhaps? Why is that so, and where do you think you could do better?
Yeah, I'm just slow. That's all it is. It's no, I don't know. I think it's certainly a track which, you know, some tracks just they gel and you feel like you're, you know, one lap and you're in it and you're in a rhythm, and it's you just get a feeling of I guess comfort and confidence, and yeah, I haven't had it often enough here, I guess, and it's not, I guess it's not a track that has probably come that naturally for me in the past. So, you know, with that, I don't come here with my head down like, oh, it's going to be a tough one. It's obviously probably one of the tracks where I feel I've got the most room for improvement, for self-improvement. So I guess I'm excited to know that there's certainly some lap time in it from my side, and it's just trying to find it and figure it out.
So I just wanted to ask both of you about that midfield battle. Are you enjoying the fight? Where do you feel McLaren has the edge over the other guys in the midfield?
I mean, so far this year it's been very enjoyable from a racing perspective. I guess if we look over the last few years comparing to this year, I think there's been a lot more action in the middle of the field. It's been a lot closer in qualifying. It's probably been one of the most enjoyable years, obviously from my experience of this year and last year, but also from a viewing point, I think, in terms of different teams being in the different positions from, you know, 5th or 6th position, or maybe even better, 4th, 5th, all the way to the back of the pack on some weekends. And every weekend we go into, it's always something different. We never are confident enough to say we're going to be at the front or where we're going to be exactly. And that's just because more teams this year comparing to the last few are in a more competitive playing field.
I think Lando is right to say that it's been an interesting season from the midfield perspective. Well, it's always an interesting season in the midfield. It's always great battles. And this year, when we started the year, we thought Racing Point definitely had a very big upper hand on us. I think they were, after winter testing, clearly quicker than us. But then somehow we've managed to hold on to them and scored some good results, even having our share of problems too. No, and yeah, I mean, Stroll was really quick in Mugello with the upgrade, so it's difficult to tell if that's going to be the case for the rest of the year. We also have hopefully some good things coming, but yeah, I would say they've definitely been the faster midfield car, which doesn't mean the best midfield team.
Carlos, was that the biggest accident of your career?
No, I'm actually in the place of my biggest accident of my career here at Russia 2015. Thanks for reminding me, Tom. But
46G.
Yeah. Yeah. Mugello was my second. It was quite a big shock. I mean, finding car stopped in front of you at 260 plus kilometers an hour was not good.
Alex, your first podium at Mugello. Fantastic afternoon for you. Can you just describe how you felt after that race?
It was good. It was nice to let's say, get it out the way in some respects. And it was a good race to do it. We didn't make it easy for ourselves with the struggling to get off the line phase of it. But the race itself was a good race for me, and I was obviously happy to get the podium.
As you know, Ross Brawn wants to introduce reverse grid qualifying races next year. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a good idea or not?
I don't like it. It's just artificial and trying to create a show, which I think is not what Formula One stands for. I don't know. It's just not my thing. The fastest car should be in the front. That's what everyone works for. So why would you try and manipulate the show? And at the end of the day, probably cars will end up in the same position anyway. But it's just not what Formula One is about. It needs to be about pure performance, and that's what you work for. You want to be the most dominant and competitive team out there, and you want to start on the first row. So I don't like it.
Max, you've said that it's not going to be an easy weekend for the team here in Sochi. Why do you say that? Do you feel threatened by Renault's straight line speed? What's the best you think you can do this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's never been an amazing weekend for us in terms of competitiveness, I think. So I don't expect any miracles. And of course, there are a lot of long straights and a lot of 90-degree corners. which are very short corners, so you can't make a massive difference. Probably the guys behind, they will be a lot closer compared to Mugello. And yeah, we'll see throughout the weekend how competitive we are going to be. But of course, the aim is going to be to try and be on the podium.
Lewis Hamilton can equal Michael Schumacher's record this weekend. I want to see what you think about that. Will you be sad to see Michael's record equalled and perhaps bettered in Germany?
Well, I think it's always been a number that has appeared impossible to reach. Now, seeing obviously the last years and Lewis's track record, he was getting closer and closer. And if he, I think it is probably at this point a question of time. Reaches that, then on one hand I for sure will be sad because Michael is still my hero. On the other hand, I will be very happy for Lewis. I think he deserves all the success he has had in the last years, and he is going to have in this year. And I don't know if he remains, but I guess so in the next years. So a bit half-half. Mixed emotions.
Some fans will be allowed at the Nürburgring this year, and as there'll be no Formula 2 or Formula 3, what ideas do you have to entertain the German fans in addition to the Formula 1 race?
Well, I mean, so far not many, because I think it's very limited in terms of how much we can interact with the fans. Obviously, we'll have to be in our bubble and stay there, I guess. But it would be nice to see the fans and, to slowly introduce fans back to the track and the grandstands. I think it's nice for us. It definitely boosts the atmosphere. So I think it's a nice track. I'm looking forward to go back. We haven't been there for a long time, and the more people are allowed to come, the better it is. But for sure, the first priority has to be their safety and our safety. So I guess it will still feel a bit different to normal, but I'll definitely come up with a different helmet, and then we take it from there.
Could there be any special support races? Back in 1984, there was a saloon car race in which all of the Formula 1 drivers were in identical cars, a race won by Ayrton Senna. Could we do something like that?
Oh, that would be fun. I'd be up for it, but I don't know if we had the chance in touring cars or something where we could race each other hard.
Charles, what do you think?
I would love to. I think it will be I think it will be very, very fun. Better make those cars very safe though, because probably with all of the young drivers, I could imagine pretty crazy things, but I think it will be very fun.
Now, Valtteri, if we can start with you, it's the Russian Grand Prix, the place where you scored your first Grand Prix victory. Some might say almost like a home race for you. I don't know whether that's a bit far-fetched, but just tell us your thoughts coming into this weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit far from home to call it a home race, but it's a race with definitely good memories. The first time is always pretty special, and you never forget that. So always good memories from here. And actually, since the beginning, when we started the race here, it's normally been a pretty strong race for me. Even with Williams. So yeah, it's a good track.
Question to you from Sandor Mezaros at Autosport S Formula magazine, and he says you can equal Michael Schumacher's record of 91 wins this weekend. What would that achievement mean to you, and are you planning any special celebrations on Sunday should you achieve it?
I don't know what it would mean to me, to be honest. I mean, I just I don't know what to say. Well, firstly, I've got my work cut out. I mean, this is a track, actually you mentioned Valtteri won his first Grand Prix here. Valtteri's very quick at this circuit. And the Red Bulls will be quick here as they were last year. So it's a real tall order to come into a weekend and to win. If it happens, it's going to happen at some stage. I'm not quitting anytime soon, so I don't know. I can't tell you how I'm going to feel or what it's going to mean or if it's going to mean anything. There's other bigger issues and things happening in the world. So, but of course it's an honor, but that doesn't really mean anything either.